What happens during the assembly process? The assembler will translate the source program, which has been written in assembly language, into an object program which will only comprise of machine instructions. So that means the assembler has to create a binary encoding for the opcode and for the other instruction fields. For example, if the assembly language source program instruction was add register R1, R3, R5, it will have to generate the opcode for add, generate the binary address for R1, binary address for R3, binary address for R5, and this will give me one binary instruction which will only be in zeros and ones. This it has to do, the assembler has to do this for all the instructions in the assembly language program. While it is going through the assembly language program, it also has to recognize directives which are specifying certain numbers and characters, like EQU. So if there is an EQU assembler directive, it has to replace the values. It also has to allocate memory space. If I have something like DB or DW or an assembler directive like reserve, I will have to reserve and allocate memory spaces for these data areas. The assembler also has to replace the labels by their relative position from the beginning of the assembled program. So the labels have to be given certain offset based on the current instruction. It also has to keep track of all the names and their corresponding values in a symbol table. So values like this, x equals 20. All values like these, values of labels, all of this will go in a table which is maintained, which is called the symbol table. If I'm going through a program like this, if a program exists like this and the assembler is passing through this program and it is replacing opcodes by their binary values, R1 by its binary address, X by its value, and as it goes down, it comes across an instruction like this which says branch F0 to a label step. The assembler does not know what step is referring to. Because step is lower down the program, it has not been encountered by the assembler as yet, so the assembler does not know the value of the step. This is called a forward referencing problem. If a forward branch is required to an address label, which appears later in the program, so the value of that address label is not known. So a common solution is to have the assembler scan the source program twice. And if this is the approach that is being used, it is known as a two-pass assembler. So in the first pass, the assembler will create a symbol table where it will add the symbols and the values assigned to them. It will store the macros either in the symbol table or it will have a separate macro table. It will store the definition of the macros also, and if further down in the program it encounters a macro name, it will expand that macro also. For the address labels, it will determine the value of each label from its position relative to the start of the source program. Once all the values have been figured out and stored in a symbol table or a macro table, the second pass will start, and each name that is encountered will be checked in the symbol table and replaced by its value. Let us take an example of this program. So, to maintain the value of the address at which each instruction is occurring, it will maintain a counter which is ILC, also referred to as the instruction location counter. It can start from 100 or it can start from 0. It depends upon the assembler how it has been configured. Also, the length of each instruction will be checked from the instruction table. So in the first pass, as the assembler moves down, starting from the first instruction, it will keep a track of all the labels and the symbols that are being used. First symbol that it encounters over here is a address label which is May. So in the symbol table, it will add May and add a value of the address starting from the beginning of the program. So the value over here is 100 for this particular address label. As we can see, the length of this instruction is 5. So the ILC will be incremented by 5 and now the ILC has 105. There is no label over here, no symbol over here. As it comes to the third instruction, it sees a label rows. So rows will also be added to the symbol table along with its value 110. This has become 110 because the length of the second instruction was also 5. So 5 was added to 105 to make it 110. When it comes to this instruction BZ step, it says branch if 0 to a label step. The step has not been encountered as yet. Next, as it moves down, so there is no value which is available for step. As it moves down, it finds that there is a macro definition and a macro name has been specified over here, and the macro name is set. So if it creates a macro table separately, it will write the name of the macro and it will give a pointer to where the definition of the macro will be stored. So this is the definition of the macro. It specifies an endm over here. Since this is an assembler directive, this is also an assembler directive. There are no address values over here. ILC is not being incremented because this is not an instruction. This is simply a command to the assembler. Then it comes to the next instruction, which is a multiplication. The ILC has been incremented continuously. You can check. It is being incremented by the length of the previous instruction. Over here, there is a call to the macro. So the macro table will be checked and it will be replaced by its definition which is available in at the pointer of that particular macro. So this will be replaced by add R1 R2. The length of this instruction was 2, so the ILC will become 126. Add R1 R3, again the length is 2, so now this becomes 128. And now when it comes to the next instruction step will be put over here in the symbol table. Its value is 130 because this was the length of the previous instruction. So 130 will be put over here. in the symbol table, and pass 1 of the assembler is complete. Now the pass 2 will begin. In the pass 2, when it comes to the first instruction, move will be replaced by the opcode. So it will check, the assembler will check the opcode table where all the opcodes are available. So move will be replaced by its binary, R1 will be replaced by its binary address, and X, which is the immediate value that has been provided in the instruction, so the binary of that immediate value will be put. So this has been converted into its binary. Now the next instruction will be converted, and so on. So all these instructions will be converted. When it comes to the branch instruction over here, BZ will be converted into its binary, and for step it is going to check what is the value of the step, that is 130. The current value is 116. So the offset is 130 minus 116. That is the offset that has to be provided. However, when this instruction will be executed, the program counter would always be pointing to the next instruction. So the offset that will be computed would be 130 minus 118, which is 12. So this step will be replaced by the binary of 12. Then we will have the binary for the next instruction. This set macro has disappeared. It was already taken care of in the first pass. These instructions will be converted into their binary. This does not exist. Mul will be converted into binary. Set does not exist because it has been replaced by its definition in the first pass. So these instructions, add instructions, will be converted to binary. Again, jump will be converted to binary, and for may the offset will be given. So whatever is the offset in the PC for the next instruction, whatever was the offset in the next ILC of the next instruction, minus the offset of may, will be replaced over here along with a minus sign, because now we have to go backwards. We have to jump backwards. So this is how a 2-pass assembler works.